I am continuing in my reading. What I'm doing in this series is to read through the entire standard works of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This consists of the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price. I am continuing reading in a chronological order, according to event, not according to publication or volume, so I'm skipping around a bit as I move along. Continuing again in the Doctrine and Covenants. We're now in late spring of 1831. Saints are starting to arrive from New York. Edward Partridge is trying to organize and get everything settled so that people can actually have places to stay, places to live. We have in section 51 was God's instructions to Edward Partridge on how to handle the temporal affairs of the church. There are also many false spirits that have been arising up both inside and outside the church, and we've had a number of revelations about that. But back in February, God commanded them to have a conference which was scheduled for early June. It actually starts on the 3rd of June and goes to the 6th of June. Now there's some discrepancies on the dating, because one record says it was just given as the 3rd of June, another record says the 6th of June, and it is kind of assumed that it was just a 3-day conference like most of the previous ones were. The one in June of 1830 was 3 days, September was 3 days, the January one was only 1 day, but now this is the next one where you assume it was 3 days. Of course, 3rd to the 6th, that's 4 days, which gives us a little bit of a discrepancy here. Just after the conference, we get section 52. And the heading to this section states this: Revelation given through Joseph Smith the prophet to the elders of the church at Kirtland, Ohio, June 7th, 1831. Recorded in History of the Church, Volume 1, pages 175 to 179. A conference had been held at Kirtland beginning on the 3rd and closing on the 6th of June. At this conference, the first distinctive ordinations to the office of high priest were made, and certain manifestations of false and deceiving spirits were discerned and rebuked. Now, I'll talk about some of that after we read the section, but notice it says it was given on June 7th. This is where the discrepancy is. Joseph Smith lists it in his history as the 6th. The conference is given on the date of the 6th of June. And then he says the day after the conference. That would be the 7th. However, as I said, the history of John Whitmer lists it as the 3rd of June, but also states that it lasted for a number of days, and says that the revelation was given the day after the conference had ended. Now, this is taken from the history of the church, the footnotes that the historian put in there, where he contends that the conference started on the 3rd and actually went to the 5th, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, which would be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, be fairly standard. And then on the 6th, that is when the elders break and go back to their homes. And it is on the 6th that the revelation is given, being the day after the conference. But we don't exactly know. Now, as to what happened at the conference, I do want to mention just two things. When it says here, the distinctive ordinations to the office of high priest, Joseph Smith does say that the power of the Melchizedek priesthood was made manifest, and the first ordinations were made. He is talking about the office of high priest in the Melchizedek priesthood. Before this time, the only ones who would have had that office were those who were ordained apostles, and that is Joseph Smith and Oliver Cowdery. There is some possibility of David Whitmer being included, but the only ones we know for certain are Joseph Smith and Oliver Cowdery. And they are only high priests in the fact that, being apostles, they also have all other lower offices. This is the first time we have people ordained as high priests. Now, there have been other revelations that mention the high priests, but this is the first time that we have the ordination, which meaning those mentions of it in previous revelations were there hinting at things to come. And this is where we're going to get them. Now, the second thing you want to note is that at this conference, apparently a couple of people got possessed by devils that tried to prevent them from speaking. And these evil spirits were rebuked by Joseph Smith and cast out. And that is what is meant by false and deceiving spirits being discerned and rebuked. So now let us read section 52. Behold, thus saith the Lord unto the elders whom he hath called and chosen in these last days by the voice of his Spirit, saying, I, the Lord, will make known unto you what I will that ye shall do from this time until the next conference, which shall be held in Missouri, upon the land which I will consecrate unto my people, which are a remnant of Jacob, and those who are heirs according to the covenant. Wherefore, verily I say unto you, let my servants Joseph Smith Jr. and Sidney Rigdon take their journey as soon as preparations can be made to leave their homes and journey to the land of Missouri. And inasmuch as they are faithful unto me, it shall be made known unto them what they shall do. And it shall also, inasmuch as they are faithful, be made known unto them the land of your inheritance. And inasmuch as they are not faithful, they shall be cut off, even as I will, as seemeth me good. And again, verily I say unto you, let my servant Lyman White and my servant John Corrill take their journey speedily, and also my servant John Murdoch and my servant Hiram Smith take their journey unto the same place by the way of Detroit. And let them journey from thence, preaching the word by the way, saying none other things than that which the prophets and apostles have written, and that which is taught them by the Comforter through the prayer of faith. Let them go 2 by 2, and thus let them preach by the way in every congregation, baptizing by water, and the laying on of the hands by the water's side. For thus saith the Lord, I will cut my work short in righteousness, for the days come that I will send forth judgment unto victory. And let my servant Lyman White beware, for Satan desireth to sift him as chaff. And behold, he that is faithful shall be made ruler over many things. And again I will give unto you a pattern in all things, that ye may not be deceived. For Satan is abroad in the land, and he goeth forth deceiving the nations. Wherefore he that prayeth, whose spirit is contrite, the same is accepted of me, if he obey mine ordinances. He that speaketh, whose spirit is contrite, whose language is meek and edifieth, the same is of God, if he obey mine ordinances. And again, he that trembleth under my power shall be made strong, and shall bring forth fruits of praise and wisdom, according to the revelations and truths which I have given you. And again, he that is overcome and bringeth not forth fruits, even according to this pattern, is not of me. Wherefore, by this pattern ye shall know the spirits in all cases under the whole heavens. And the days have come, according to men's faith, it shall be done unto them. Behold, this commandment is given unto all the elders who I have chosen. This section seems to be largely a preparation for the gathering in Missouri. We're going to have the next conference in Missouri, and Joseph and Sidney Rigdon are commanded to go to Missouri as soon as they can. I think they finally make it out there sometime in July. Then we have these other men who are being told to also go out there in preparation for this conference, but they are to be traveling and preaching along the way, so they're taking their time to get out there. But also, I find it interesting, in this case it says, baptizing by water, and the laying on of hands by the water's side. In other words, they're going to baptize and then immediately confer the Holy Ghost. So instead of baptizing and then waiting a little while, it's going to be baptize them, confirm them. And this as they're traveling out to Missouri. Then we have this list of those who are accepted of God, and these are those who are doing the ministry. Those who have a contrite heart, those who are humble before God, those who produce the fruits of faith. They're the ones that are going to be accepted of God as the work progresses. But again, most of this is just leading up, is a preparation for the gathering in Missouri. So let us continue, verse 22. And again, verily I say unto you, let my servant Thomas B. Marsh and my servant Ezra Thayer take their journey also, preaching the word by the way unto this same land. And again, let my servant Isaac Morley and my servant Ezra Booth take their journey also, preaching the word by the way unto this same land. And again, let my servants Edward Partridge and Martin Harris take their journey with my servants Sidney Rigdon and Joseph Smith Jr. Let my servants David Whitmer and Harvey Whitlock also take their journey and preach by the way unto this same land. And let my servants Parley P. Pratt and Orson Pratt take their journey and preach by the way even unto this same land. And let my servants Solomon Hancock and Simeon Carter also take their journey unto this same land and preach by the way. Let my servants Edson Fuller and Jacob Scott also take their journey. Let my servants Levi W. Hancock and Zebedee Coltrane also take their journey. Let my servants Reynolds K. Hoon and Samuel H. Smith also take their journey. Let my servants Wheeler Baldwin and William Carter also take their journey. And let my servants Newell Knight and Silah J. Griffin both be ordained and also take their journey. Yea, verily I say, let all these take their journey into one place, and their several courses, and one man shall not build upon another's foundation, neither journey in another's track. He that is faithful, the same shall be kept and blessed with much fruit. And again I say unto you, let my servants Joseph Wakefield and Solomon Humphrey take their journey into the eastern lands. Let them labor with their families, declaring none other things than the prophets and apostles, that which they have seen and heard, and most assuredly believe, that the prophecies may be fulfilled. In consequence of transgression, let that which was bestowed upon Heman Basset be taken from him, and placed upon the head of Simon's rider. And again, verily I say unto you, let Jared Carter be ordained a high priest, and also George James be ordained a priest. Let the residue of the elders watch over the churches, and declare the word in the regions round about them. And let them labor with their own hands, that there be no idolatry, nor wickedness practiced. And remember in all things the poor and the needy, the sick and the afflicted, for he that doeth not these things, the same is not my disciple. And again, let my servants, Joseph Smith Jr. and Sidney Rigdon and Edward Partridge, take with them a recommend from the church. And let there be one obtained for my servant Oliver Cowdery also. And thus, even as I have said, if ye are faithful, ye shall assemble yourselves together to rejoice upon the land of Missouri, which is the land of your inheritance, which is now the land of your enemies. But behold, I, the Lord, will hasten the city in its time, and will crown the faithful with joy and with rejoicing. Behold, I am Jesus Christ, the Son of God, and I will lift them up at the last day. Even so, amen. Now this section just details many people who are sent on missionary journeys out to Missouri. They are all paired up, so they're going out 2 by 2, and they're told, you don't follow in another's tracks. Everybody has to take a different route out to Missouri. That way they cover as much ground as possible, preaching the word as they go. Now a couple of guys are actually sent to the east in order to teach their own families. So this is primarily preparation for going to Missouri. Even this is kind of a preparation for going to Missouri, but they are being sent east to preach to their families. The one guy there's a lot of guys here that we could probably do whole videos about, but two guys I want to mention here actually. We have Heman Basset. What was bestowed upon him is taken from him and placed upon Simon's rider. Heman Basset was an early convert. He was a young man. I think he was about 17 when he was converted. But he was caught up in all those strange spirits that were giving the contortions and spasms, and he had odd visions, and he drew these weird outlandish pictures claiming them to be revelations from God. He was rebuked by Joseph Smith specifically, though not recorded in the Doctrine and Covenants. He didn't take too kindly to that. He also is one that, the story goes, he took the watch of Levi Hancock on the pretext of the law of consecration. Everything belongs to everybody, communal property. This is one thing that Joseph Smith had to put down when he first came, is this false idea of communal property. And so he was guilty of theft. He is not repentant at this time, and so his calling is taken from him and given to Simon's rider. Now, Heman Basset, he does have a falling out early on, but he does apparently go back to the church, and he travels with them out to Missouri, suffers through the persecutions, but at the death of Joseph Smith, he separates from the main body, and so that's his basic story. His replacement, Simon's rider, is the guy that joined the church because he heard of an earthquake in China. I mentioned that in a previous video. He is the one that decided that that was sufficient evidence for the truthfulness of the church, and so he was baptized very shortly before the conference in June. I think he was baptized in late May, possibly just before the conference, maybe even at the conference. He was right in this area, and now this is just after the conference. He is being given the calling of Heman Basset and sent out to Missouri. Anyways, that is all I'm going to say on this. This is just a command and preparation for traveling to Missouri for the next conference and the building up of Zion. So we now continue in our next reading with section 53. I will see you there.